Hi, I'm Peter Haddock and welcome to another Think Tank podcast edition. This edition is sponsored by Leica Geosystems, the surveying and machine control specialist. And if you need to know how to get your connected worksite fully operational, give the team there a call or go on to leica-geosystems.co.uk. Now today, folks, I've got a very special guest. The last time I spoke to him was June 2020, when a lot of exciting things were happening with the business. And since then, not only has the business grown to do even more exciting stuff, he's also got a promotion. He is the Chief Operating Officer now of Plantforce Rentals. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Sam Mercer. Sam, how the devil are you?
Very well, thank you, Peter. Very well. And yeah, thank you for the very kind introduction.
Well, it's well deserved, Sam. I know you've been working with the business frenetically for a long time now. And I think one of the things that's really impressed me about following Plantforce and actually getting to know Plantforce since I started content with media in July 2019 is just how rapidly the business has grown. And also the kind of things that you're doing out there are really leading the way. And that's why I wanted to bring you back to talk about what you've been doing and some of the things that really are the challenges that the industry faces right now that you're trying to hit head on. And so, you know, I introduced you as the COO of Plantforce Rentals. Tell the people a little bit about how long you've been with the business first, Sam, and that progression.
So I've been with the business now, we're coming up to 11 years. I started out in the yard. I started washing machines. I was a plant engineer at one point, then onto a higher desk. I've done probably every role in the business really, which is great, you know, because at the end of the day, when we decide and we make changes and we want to change efficiencies and we want to do things that have a positive effect on people's lives and on people's day-to-day work life. So having had some experiences of what those things are, you know, it gives me a greater input into the business, which is fantastic.
And I think you're right there, Sam. I think, you know, some of the leaders I talk to that have had that sort of ground level experience really do understand what it's like to work in the plant sector. You know, it's an exciting place to be right now, but also you have to work very, very hard. There's a lot of different challenges that face us all, not to the fact we're operating huge machinery in, you know, very, very different conditions, which can be very dangerous in that instance. And I think, you know, for me, it's really insightful to show people in the industry that you can go from sweeping the yard and making sure it's pristine to actually being this chief operating officer of one of the UK's leading plant hirers. Now, Sam, you know, it is a real people business, you know, and for me, we'll come on to talking about that because that's really important. But one of the things that the topics that I really want to start with is the fact that we've had COP26, the climate change conference in November last year in Glasgow. And there was a lot of talk about that and in the industry around how are we going to get to net zero and how actually have we got the burden on the earthworks community. I mean, some of the contractors I've been talking to, 92% of all carbon emissions comes from their supply chain. Some of the larger projects, 70% of carbon emissions comes from the earthworks section of the project. So fundamentally, I know you've been doing an awful lot around how we can look at the carbon emissions element in a holistic way and how we can move to net zero. And one of those things you've been doing is proving what you're using and monitoring it. Tell me a little bit about your approach and the challenge that is faced by the industry.
I think our approach really is, at the moment, it's very realistic. You know, everybody's ambitions for net zero are very futuristic, which is fantastic, and it's something we will achieve in time. I think for us, our biggest focus today is behavioural change. Whether the machine is powered by red or white diesel, HVO, hydrogen, or battery powered, at the moment, we currently waste 60% of our energy on idle time. Across the board, across our large fleet of machines, what we see is a huge idle time, which is a waste. So whether we're recharging these batteries to then waste them the next day or waste a greener fuel, we're still wasting it. And that's something that's very relevant to here and now, really. With the data we have at our fingertips, we really need to push that behavioural change. And and cut these emissions as much as we can. Future technologies will play its part, and we're going to be flooded with new technologies very, very soon. The Kobelco excavator we're extremely proud of. The fuel efficiencies of that are second to none, and truly a market leader. So there's lots of gains and there's lots of things we can do in the here and now to combat the emissions for the construction industry.
And you talk about data, and you talk about actually having data. That's interesting to me, to actually know that you've got the data at your fingertips. Tell me about the journey that you've gone to, because in June 2020, we weren't talking about actually having that kind of data, that fleet data. Tell me about that move. That's something that's relatively new that you've been investing in, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've been trialing this, and we've been working on this for quite a while. We're currently in a partnership with MachineMax, and that gives us a single host platform to see our entire fleet. It's something that's becoming more and more important to our customers. We have had some sort of single source platform for the past 2 years. In the middle of last year, we moved over to MachineMax, and that's a service we offer to our customer base. Obviously, with emissions are something we all need to keep an eye on now. With the diesel change in April, people are going to be becoming more and more focused on cutting idle times and making sure their plant that they're hiring is as efficient as the plant they own and run themselves.
Absolutely. So you're telling me that you've got the ability now to look at the fleet. Say I've got a big project, and you're sending me lots of equipment, including the new Rockback truck I see that you've already got delivered onto site recently. You're able to tell me how much fuel these individual machines are using, and some of the payload technologies integrated into that, which we're seeing on some of the new equipment as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so across all brands that we run in Plantforce, so whether it's Hyundai, Kobelco, Rockback, all of those, we can get the same data source across all of those brands, so we can see engine on-off times, idle times, working times, track times, whether they've used other attachment, what their CO2 emissions are. So yeah, we can keep an eye on all that across our entire fleet. Our customers can log in and see that on a daily or weekly basis. Some of them, most of them upload every 10 minutes. There's clean, fresh data there for them to see throughout the day. You can see who's driving the machine. We have a multiple amount of systems now, so you can actually log in and see who's driving that machine. Has he recently done his quick hit training? Has he recently renewed his safety critical medical? You can log into our hire software as well, and also download anything you need from that as well. So yeah, we've come a very long way since we last spoke. We're a very transparent business. We've always said that. We talk very open and honest, and we're very transparent in the documents and the information we have as a business. So yeah, for pretty much anything, there's a login, and you can come and see what you need as a customer.
So the Plantforce digital journey is not just about the equipment inside the cab, folks, or on board the cab. It's actually how you can look into the whole fleet on site. And I think, that's really important for me, Sam, because, one of the critical things that we need to do is recognize, like you mentioned earlier, how we can reduce carbon emissions. Now, everybody's like, well, it might be a bit of a challenge, but hold on a minute. You mentioned it earlier. Right. The way in which you can be more profitable now is even more so important, because we have got that change from red to white diesel. That creates a huge cost problem for somebody that's doing a job with a piece of equipment, whether they're hiring that piece of equipment from you, operating it themselves and filling it themselves, or whether they're hiring an operator from you with the machine and are responsible for the fuel elements. So it's now really even more important than ever, and actually probably a differential for you guys, to show people what can be achieved when you've got a well-trained operator, isn't it?
It is really key, I suppose on a self-drive machine, they don't know unless we inform them. That's our job. Our role is to inform you to use that equipment to the best of your ability. And if so, it may be to off-hire that machine and use one more efficiently that you already have on site. But if it's operated, of course, it's to have a driver in the cab that can be proactive and work, but also use the technology as there. We've spoken about infield design on GPS before, and do we wait for someone to upload a 45-degree cut on a batter, or does the driver input that himself and crack on and do it? So yeah, those really will be vital come April this year.
And so what I'm seeing in some cases is that actually, if you look at a highly skilled operator from Plantforce coming onto a site that's been trained on the specific machine, that's got machine control on it, that's got the tilt rotator, that's the semi-automatics Kobelco you've spoken about, that person, for their fuel economy and their general overall cost, could be cheaper because of the productivity levels that you can get out than actually hiring in a machine that is probably 1 or 2 years old and has not got all of that technology on it. And because obviously you eliminate any rework with 3D machine control. With a tilt rotator, you're not tracking backwards and forwards using a lot of engine power. You're more fixed and letting the actual tilt rotator do the job. The actual overall analysis and the data you must be able to show people, it may even be that case, mightn't it?
Definitely, it's extraordinary what we can pull now, and we have been recently working on a new machine which is like the 210 you spoke about, so like a semi-automatics Kobelco with the tilt rotator on, but we are putting it onto a hybrid just to make it even more efficient. I don't think we can do any more than that after we've done that, to be honest. But yeah, it has a huge effect on what you can achieve with the machine. It completely cuts the downtime down. We're not waiting for somebody to come over and instruct the driver. The driver's working off his screen. And to be fair, we've been able to maximise the productivity as far as we can in terms of tooling the machines to cope on site.
Yeah, and I think, that semi-automatics element, just for the listeners as well, semi-automatics, folks, actually helps the operator do some of the more simple tasks, and also that automation connected to the 3D machine control ensures that the operator doesn't under or over dig, even when using a tilt rotator to sort of shape those batters, those ponds, etc. And, I think what's really in sight for all of that element is the fact that these technologies are things that you've added to your capabilities since sort of June 2020. I've gone on to site and seen the semi-automatics machine working. And I even saw, Sam, the other day, that not only have you got the Leica Geosystems system on it, not only have you got the SMP tilt rotator on it, you've now got the X-Watch system, which is the safety system, ingrained into it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, yes, that's been great to see. One of the problems we had with the height and slew restrictions was frequently updating your height and slew restrictions as you move around site, and new integration with Leica on that is phenomenal. That really does. It gives some peace of mind to what can be dangerous and critical works that have to be done on site, and knowing that system is there to back you up, it is phenomenal. It's a very, very clever piece of kit.
And this is all about, making sure that the operator, yes, is efficient, yes, doesn't have to wait around and idle, but also that they're operating in a safe way, that they're supported within that whole safety area. Because the fundamental thing that you need an operator to do is look outside the window, not look at all of the what I call the cab clutter. But by integrating all of these systems into singular tablets, into visual and audible, as well as the tablet element, means that you're not taking that operator too far away from actually doing the job itself. And I think, having those 360 cameras as well really makes that difference, because there's two things that are happening, aren't there? One, you're downloading the model and everything, and therefore having no engineers around you. And two, you're reducing cab clutter so that you can concentrate. And then I guess three, you're saying we're going to integrate all this slew and height restriction to protect you from going above things. So how has that gone down with your operator community? Because it must be a bit overwhelming at the start, but then it's like, God, hold on, I don't have to do all of this work now.
No, well, it comes down to trusting the technology you're using. We'll all see, if we post a photo of a machine like that, we'll all see the initial comments come on, won't we? Which is distractions in the cab, and that people think it's there to take their mind away. Actually, the technology is there, leave you to do your job, and is to warn you if there is something you need to know around you. You know, the camera systems we use are there, and you know, some of them have got human detection on, so they will let you know if somebody comes within reach. If your work unsafe zone, visible wall will cut that machine and stop you slewing into it or stop you digging to a certain depth. You know, is actually leaving the operator to do what he does best. And you know, they're actually very helpful. Of course, people are always skeptical of new technologies, but the experience that I've seen is that everybody that's got in and spent some time with them very, very quickly sees the benefits of them and sees how you can take your own abilities to the next level, letting the technology help you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, some of these advances have led to some advances in your own business, Sam. So one of the big news stories from last year, and obviously this year is a big time to be on site, is a little project that you won a little bit of work on called HS2, Sam. You know, it follows on from the conversation we had about Hinkley C and the work you'd done there, and the specialist machines again that you'd created for that project, those specific applications. But you really have gone and moved forward and really, you know, sort of smashed it out the park, as I'd call it, with winning some work on HS2. Tell me about that journey from Hinkley C to HS2, and you know, why again that's another big game-changing step for you.
This is huge for the business. You know, Hinkley Point did so many great things for us, but HS2 is something of the size we've never really seen before. When we initially went for the contract with EKFB, there's a massive amount of competition and a daunting project, really. You know, 80 kilometres of the 122 kilometres of HS2, which is a very reasonable proportion. You know, it's massive, and it's really going to take us to the next level. You know, we're very, very proud. I'm very happy to have achieved what we have, you know, to have really seen the two, to be on both of the, I suppose, super projects that the UK has seen, Hinkley Point C and HS2, you know, to be on both is a really, really good achievement for us and really does showcase what Plantforce has to offer. You know, we are a fantastic business full of great leaders and real experts in the industry, and having that chance to kind of show those skills on another major project is a real honour.
So, Sam, you know, you've been winning a lot of projects and there's been a lot of investment in the fleet as well. Tell me a little bit about how Plantforce has grown as a business since we last spoke in June 2020. Lots more kit, lots more people, I guess.
The growth over the last few years has been phenomenal, really. You know, we're knocking on the 2,000 door. So, you know, we're nearly at 2,000 pieces of plant across the business, which is, you know, a really, really astronomical number. You know, there's lots of new people. You know, there's new depots and divisions. You know, we recently moved the Finley division down into one of our depots in Bridgewater. So the crushing and screening division has a new home, which is, you know, again, was new to Plantforce in 2020. And that business is, you know, on its own is already doubled over the past 2 years. Plantforce Rentals, you know, we are kind of steamrolling through. You know, we're now running 200 dump trucks, nearly 50 dozers, you know, like I said, nearly 2,000 pieces of plant. Yeah, it's, you know, we're kind of unrecognizable from where we were a few years ago. You know, we're just focusing on how we can kind of deliver the quality as well. You know, as much as we're growing rapidly, it is about service. It's about customer service for us. It's about reliability. And it's about giving customers, you know, a fair service for what they pay. You know, we have a very modern, very well kept fleet of machinery. You know, I think we've always been known and been seen as a kind of a premium brand in the industry, and we want to make sure we hold on to that as we grow.
And I think the biggest thing about that, Sam, is, you know, is actually the people piece, you know, and this is why I wanted to talk and leave this to a little bit further on in the podcast, because people are the real lifeblood of this industry. And of course, when you're growing as fast as you are, 2,000 pieces of kit, yes, some people are hiring the kit alone, but you've got a huge growth in your operated plant piece there. And with that, you've obviously got to bring more people into the industry. And that comes on to how you've managed that process. You sort of saw it coming, and you were doing a lot and launching a lot in June 2020 with your relationship with Weston College. But how has that progressed, and how have you been able to get more people into the industry? And not just that, upskill the people that you've got for this, semi-automatics future that you've already started to work on?
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to this and how we achieve it. Multiple divisions and depots. It's hard, and that doesn't just go to the operator base as well. As a growing company, we need people across the whole business all the time. What we started with Weston College was really, really good. It was a really good benchmark for us that we've kind of since added to. We have a new partnership with LP Training in the Midlands. The Midlands is a very fast-growing area for us. It's also an area that's very quickly running out of resource with the presence of HS2. So again, we're trying to put another modern, highly advanced, training academy in where people can go and use it. It's not just open to Plantforce, it's open to anybody that wants to go to it. And that's been brilliant. Just from the LP Training Academy so far, we've put 12 new apprentices who are currently out working. I think our actual apprenticeship percentage for the business at the moment is around 8%. So 8% of our total workforce is currently on an apprenticeship. So we're definitely, we're doing our bit to bring new people in. And I think we've always been an ambassador for that as well. We don't just sit back and kind of cherry pick. We all have a responsibility to bring new people in and do it well. Our apprenticeship program is, especially on plant operators, been extremely successful. One of the things we did straight away is that we upped the level of training they received before they went to site. So actually 50% of all their training they should do in the first 12 months, we do before they ever go to site, before they ever leave our training ground. And that's absolutely vital. We want these guys to have the confidence of where they're going and the confidence to do the job, but also we're not just training how the machinery works. We're talking about culture. We're talking expectations on site. We've all been in a site canteen, and it can be very jovial, but we want to prepare people. We want people to be mentally prepared to the work we're coming to do. We don't want them to be nervous. We don't want them to be shy. We want them to come and flourish on these sites. The apprenticeship program has been a real success this year. It's been something we've enjoyed doing, and we're really optimistic to see the high numbers, really, because we really are only just starting. And I think if we fast forward 3-6 months this year, we'll be probably looking at having another 20 or 30 apprentices coming through the program already by then.
And I've seen one of those sort of apprentices that you fast tracked as well, Sam, and that was Ted Powell, who I saw working on your semi-automatics machine, actually, with a company called Blue Dot. And, what was really fascinating about that is a young operator was being given your best machine in your fleet to operate and do a job on site for a customer. So some of those, machines you'd have thought would have been reserved for the best operator, and people would have to work up to be able to get a chance to go on them. But that's not right, is it? That's not the right way to do things. The way in which you need to do things is give the right tools to people and actually, let them shine when it comes to that. And that particular operator was able to program his own buns into the Leica Geosystems tablet because they're more savvy. So, you've got actually a totally different attitude, haven't you, to what I would have commonly thought that would be the case. Why again is that important?
Well, I suppose it comes down to what we spoke about at the beginning, Peter, is the opportunities we're given in this business, the opportunities I've been given in this business. And some of these guys that come in, they really do take to the technology very, very fast and very easy. So, if they're good at it and they find it interesting and they want to take those opportunities, then that's our job, really, is to make sure they're there for them. Ted's been fantastic. Ryan, James, there's so many that have come through the school this year that have really, really impressed us, and they're on sites now with customers that just won't let them go. And that shows how well they're doing. It's fantastic.
And I think that does really come back to that sort of investment in skills. But what you really focus on, like you said before, is behavioral change, but also being part of the Plantforce family, you know. And I think from my perspective, you've seen the ability for these people to grow. And what that does, I guess, is that builds careers and momentum, because the challenge we've got in this industry is not just to attract and train new talent, it's all about keeping them, isn't it? So, you know, how are you finding the ability to keep people in the industry, and what's that looking like right now?
Plantforce has always had a very, very good retention number. You know, our percentage is extremely high. Lots of our staff have been here for a very long time, and of course, that's something we wish to continue. You know, treating people well, giving them opportunities, giving them training is absolutely vital, because this industry, we said it earlier, this industry is not always easy. There's some real characters in the industry. There's some tough days, and there's times where things need to be done and we need to really get on with it. And I think people are attracted by that, but there's, you know, people don't just want to be doing the same thing every day. And what you find with people that enjoy that kind of atmosphere or industry is that they actually want to progress. And that may not even just be in terms of their job title, but actually progress as a person and get better at what they're doing, you know. And I think that's something we really enjoy, and we like giving people that opportunity. So yeah, we've got to keep moving as a business. We've got to keep investing in new technology. We've got to keep working smarter, not harder, you know, and changing things, be at the coal face, but be at the front end of technology, you know, which is, I think, somewhere we've positioned ourselves for the past few years, is that we're the people approach when they've got something new they want to try, you know, which is great. And that, again, something exciting for all of our staff. When something comes in that we get to try out, the operators get to have a go on it, you know, we all get to have a little look around and see how it works and put our thoughts into it. It's really enjoyable.
And I think where we look at all of that, then that's far more inclusive. But also, Sam, what we've recognized in the industry, and I've heard a lot about over the last few years since I started doing this podcast, is the fact that we've got the word competency, and then use words like upskilling. But, you know, people complain about the types of ticket that people have got and things like that. But what really stands out for me is the fact that you as a business have looked at the world around you and gone, actually, we need to help people to get accreditation for their skill sets. What's really a standout for me in 2022 was the launch of your digital BTEC with Weston College, because fundamentally what we're saying to people is, yes, you can get a ticket, you can do this, you can show you've passed this and passed that. To get a competency level is the next stage up. But actually, to get a recognized accredited qualification is something that people can really shout about, isn't it? And tell me the reasoning behind, you know, putting all of that effort. And I know it has taken a lot of collaboration with the college and a lot of time to create that BTEC. What's the thinking behind it?
Again, you know, it's us playing our part and trying to do what we can for the industry. That's not just exclusive. We recognize that the technology is coming so fast, you know, to try and upskill and train all of the operators, it's really hard. And a lot of these guys, and they're doing amazing. They're on site and they're picking it up as they go, which is phenomenal. But other people need to learn in a different way. And we wanted something that was recognized, something that gave confidence. You know, look, if this guy has this ticket, we know he knows what he's doing. And also, you know, there are multiple brands out there. So this touches all the brands. So no matter what you've been used to using, you'll know how to go from one to the other. And it's just something we felt that needed to be done for the industry, really. It's something that gives us the confidence. We've done digital GPS training for years, you know, 2-3 years ago, we started doing that, but we were always giving training to depending on the audience. And sometimes that's really hard because you're training 5 people. One's never used GPS technology before and the other's actually quite advanced. So by doing this course, it should bring the industry up to kind of one significant level, really. But yes, it was really hard work to be able to do, and a lot of people, you know, really did have to do a lot to achieve it. But what we did with Weston College on that is phenomenal, really, and it will be available from LP training, which is really exciting.
And you're expecting to roll that out further with more partnerships, I take it?
We'd love to see it go further. I think it's something that once it's out there, people will want to be involved in. It's a legacy piece, isn't it? It's something that somebody has forever, So, yeah, we'd like to see that rolled out and become an industry standard, really.
And so, that really leads me on to where we see the next few years going. So I've called the individual the digital plant operative and the digital earthworks manager. But what are the other types of people you're bringing in and you see more demand for within your business as it grows and as we grow that sort of connected work site that so many people are being talking about? What are the kind of people you'll need?
The digital side, Peter, is really, really booming at the minute. Install engineers, site engineers, those guys are really in high demand at the minute for us. Everything has to be versatile. A machine has to be able to come in off of a normal hire and go out tomorrow, fully GPS enabled with semi-automatics if they want, pedestrian cameras, Xbox, we have to be able to react really, really quickly. So there's going to be a huge emphasis on that. I know we're all going to be struggling with engineers and labour and plant operators over the next couple of years because it's already tough. We got a glimpse of it at the tail end of 2021 where, really for 4 or 5 weeks, there really wasn't anything left in the industry. All the yards were empty and all the ops were out. I think that's going to be a different year. But for us, the contract on HS2 is obviously a major focus for us. That's really going to do some amazing things for the business. We're also going to open another division of the business at the end of next year, and we'll probably be completing our kind of geographical coverage with the Northern Depot as well come the end of next year, which is really exciting because, that's our customers' demands are that we cover more and more of the country all the time. So that's something we're going to have to achieve. We're going to carry on and doing our training and just making sure we're focused on the customer services really and make sure that Plantforce brand is as strong as it's ever been.
That sounds like a really exciting future for you guys at the moment. It's months away, not years away. And I think the integration of 3D and the project delivery is really so important. And I think that we mentioned at the very start of this podcast that, there'll be a lot of change coming. There'll be a lot of new technologies coming. And I had an interview with Malcolm Dare, one of the board directors of National Highways, and he believed that our industry is ripe for disruptors to come in, technology players to come into our market and deliver services that enable us to reach that sort of goal of net zero and things like that. And I think it's a really exciting time when you're just saying there to the industry in a wider sense, if you've got solutions, come and talk to us, come and show us, come and see them in a real life application with us. And therefore we can see and help those businesses adapt technologies that will work and that will help us all. And I think that comes on to a couple of key things for me. One of the things I've also been talking about towards the end of last year at some of the shows is the digital rehearsal, which folks, just to tell you a little bit about, the digital rehearsal is around using 3D models and designs and everything to actually look at how you can run a job without the kit, without the people even being on the site yet. So it's looking at how you don't run a road job more effectively with all the data and all the things you've got to do, how you position everything. And that sort of digital rehearsal is going to be something that's potentially going to really help you as a plant hirer and a sort of plant contractor, as it were, that you're more like as well now, isn't it? Those sort of advances in technologies from your client delivered into you with the right data, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. The big changes that we had in design these last few years have made all the jobs work more efficiently. The programs are clearer, they're more scheduled, they're more on time. That as a supplier for us is absolutely music to our ears. That cuts out some of the late Friday night orders for Monday morning and gives the sites a lot more information of where they are on the project. We're able to see through some of our systems exactly where we are on the cut, what we're loading, what we're loading out and tipping per day versus where we need to be on the program, and do we need to step things up, or are we okay? Or what can we change on site to make them more efficient? But yeah, the advances of technology are absolutely huge at the minute. You know, we're trying to stay on top of everything coming through, but yeah, you know, we do really have everything at our fingertips, and it makes the management of these sites a lot easier.
So I'm going to come back, Sam, to finish this off. I'm going to come back to this sort of future fuels and things that we discussed. And, you know, this is called a Think Tank podcast because, folks, the tank is what I think about. All these different things we've been talking about with Sam really do affect the drop of fuel, the kilowatt of fuel, or the hydrogen that's in a tank, and how much value that delivers. So if we're idling too much, if we're in an old piece of knackered old equipment that you can't maintain properly, then the value of that fuel is very, very low. But if we're in a super semi-automatics, like a machine controlled SMT, X-Watch, etc., singular machine like Plantforce's, the value of that drop becomes very, very high. And Sam, you know, we've seen this transition at the moment. Obviously, a lot of people are talking, in particular, like sort of tier one contractors like Skanska, about the use of HVO on sites. And I'm guessing because you're renewing your fleet so much that you're ready for that transition to grow even more, are you?
We're already a HVO compliant business. You know, our entire fleet could run on HVO tomorrow if that's what our customer base wanted. You know, when you kind of ring up and order a machine now, not only will you kind of give what buckets you want with it or what specification, it will be what fuel would you like in the tank will be one of the next questions, and we'll be supplying machines with either HVO or white diesel in, just so we can kind of match them and have them kind of preset to what they're going to run on site. But yeah, you know, that's going to be a massive change for everybody on site. And like you say, it brings efficiencies to the forefront, because any kind of cost they had or downtime, they're only going to get greater. So yeah, it's going to be put a real kind of focus on that in the industry.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we're seeing a lot of the smaller electric machines coming through now. I went on to site recently with one of the JCB electric telehandlers, the sort of largest in its electric fleet. And, you know, as we move forward, we're hearing a lot in the marketplace around big players like Caterpillar investing in hydrogen for mining. Obviously, JCB's got its hydrogen machine coming through. So a lot of those things are coming down the line. But I think, you know, that big challenge that you spoke to, the here and now, is really what we need to focus on, so that we can be more efficient. And I think that we've got an immense opportunity to use technology, but the most important people are the brains inside the cab, which are the operators that you know, you really are pumping a lot of information and support into. So it really is the year of ramping it up by the sounds of things. Where do you think the industry is going? It sounds to me that we've got boom times at the moment. We haven't necessarily got the people, but we're pushing them through as quickly as possible. But are we going to have enough equipment on site? Are we going to have enough people to continue the growth of this sector? What are your thoughts?
It's going to be very close. It's going to be very, very close. We're definitely looking at an industry boom. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, you know, we saw the glimpses of it late last year, when these major projects ramp up. You know, kind of April, May in 2022. You know, I think we are going to come short of plant. You know, there are, you know, the order books with the manufacturers are full. You know, there really isn't a lot more kit you can get your hands on this year. The demands that we have ourselves are huge. I think we're in a good position. I think we're lucky with some of the contracts we have, that we have a good sight of these coming. So we've had time to prepare, we've had time to recruit, we've had time to order our plant. Yeah, we're in a really good position for that.
And Sam, of course, your position is going to keep expanding by the sounds of things as you continue to grow. And it's great to see that, you know, you're able to do that, and you're able to maintain the Plantforce sort of ethos, which is sort of digitally led and innovation led. And I can't wait to see what next goes on the excavator and the new hybrid that's going to be popping out to see us make us super efficient. And one of the things I'd like to know, and I'd like to sort of follow with you guys in 2022, is how we are making that emissions impact, how we're reducing the emissions, how we're actually being better with reducing idle time, and understanding how the technology that you're using is making that big difference. Because when we can do that and we can share that with the wider industry, then we can all save a drop here, a drop there. We can all think a little bit more about the tank, folks. And that's where I'll leave it here. This has been another Think Tank episode sponsored by my friends at Leica Geosystems. They're the 3D machine control and surveying specialists. And if you want to get a connected worksite with all the benefits, carbon emissions, and the benefits of fuel reduction, then just go and see their website, Leica-geosystems.co.uk. Sam, it's time for me to say a big thank you to you. It's been great to talk to you today, and I can't wait to see the Plantforce team in full effect in 2022. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for having me today.
No problem at all, Sam, and thanks to you, the listeners, for spending some time with me today. And until the next time, goodbye.